Good morning, everybody. Let me introduce Andre from STEINEL company, who will talk about the sensors which count people in the room or in the space. It will take about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, then there will be space for a question. Enjoy it. Andre, it's yours.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andre Milos. I'm with STEINEL since 2016. I'm product manager. I have here my colleague, Mr. Mertz, also. We will present you a solution for companies to help improve their space utilization. Mr. Mertz is our technical expert here, so we have a little booth also on our left-hand side. Any questions you have, we're happy to answer. So what do we have here? HPD2. Why is it called HPD2? Because it's a human presence detection. It's a sensor that counts people. He knows how many people are in a space. How did we come to this? STEINEL is a worldwide sensor manufacturer. We started with motion detectors. As we all know, infrared motion detectors that can detect movement and brightness in an area. Further on, presence detectors. Not only movements, but also people sitting and working on their desks. Now, we can do this and know how many are doing this. Besides that, we also detect the temperature of the room, the humidity, and the light level. The HPD2, we will see it on our booth, is a camera-based sensor technology. It has a database of pictures, let's put it this way, and it detects the human shape and compares it to the database. If it identifies it as a human, it counts 1. The analysis of the image is done in the sensor, so there is no sending of image at all. The only data that is being sent is a string with a number, and the number is the amount of people in that area. It also works during the night. So it can be a completely dark room because we have infrared LEDs for that. Detection areas. An area where the sensor is intended to be working can be divided into segments. On the KNX version, we can do it up to 5 segments, and the Ethernet IP version up to 10 segments. Here we have an example of how that could work. Is there a light here? No. Okay. An example of how that could work, we have our space divided into 4 different segments. So the sensor is counting how many people are in each of the segments. You see here, there is no one, so it's 0. Here is 1, here are 2 people, and here's 1. Gives a total of 4 people. Sitting or standing doesn't matter. He counts people. Detection only where it's necessary. This is very important because in an area like this one here, for example, with a window side where you have people outside, you can also make non-detection zones. So the sensor will see only what is inside the specified area. Detection of humans only. Why is this important to be mentioned? It's not based on movement. So infrared sensors, as we know, is a heating source that is moving around. If the heating source moves, the sensor will detect movement. Here, it's not. It's based on an image. It doesn't matter if people are sitting or are standing. It also doesn't matter if they are partially covered. We don't need to see people's faces also. So it's just about the shape. Focus on the upper body. Why that? We don't count legs, especially because under desks we cannot see the legs. So it's really only the upper part of the body. How it's intended to be mounted. There are basically two main ways. You can mount the sensor in the central part of the wall, or you can mount it on the corner. It's always important to have it not facing the sunlight. We know a camera, if you put it facing on the sunlight, it will be completely dark. It's recommended that you have it with the on the same side of the window facing the room. Mounting height between 2.5 and 6 meters. As I mentioned, centralized or on the corner. When you create a zone, as I described before, important is that the person is on the zone, not the desk. Why that? Here we can see the zoning doesn't really have anything to do with the desks. We're not counting the desk, we're counting the people. So by creating the zones, it is important to have the zones there where the people are. In this red example, we can see the zone, it's very high also. Why that? Because that person could be standing. And we want to catch the upper part of the body. If we do only the desk, when she's sitting, it's good. Once she's standing, she will not be counted. Output values. What is the sensor showing us? First of all, we have it in two versions currently, KNX and Ethernet IP. On the KNX version, we have up to 5 zones. And the IP10, I'm sorry, this is this is wrong. This should be 5 and this should be 10. Number of persons per zone, both can do that. You can divide the zones and count each individual zones. Presence, that's very interesting. We also give presence detection, which means, are there people? We send a number 1. Are there no people? We send a number 0. Doesn't matter the quantity of people. Total number of persons, of course. Temperature of the room. We can give the temperature of the room also. Humidity level in the room. And the light level in the room. So the interesting thing here is, on the KNX version, for example, where you have many actuators on the same structure, you can do whatever you want with that. You can control air conditioning. You can measure the temperature, and you know how many people are in the room. When you have, let's say, 2 people in the room, you turn on the first level of air conditioning. When you have, let's say, more than 5 people in the room, you could turn on a second level of air conditioning. So knowing how many people you have in a room is very important. Applications. This is part of the whole solution. What are the applications? The applications are, what is the sensor used for? Why should we count people? There are many examples, and we're learning new examples every day. I will picture you some of them. This is, we call it a flex desk application, hotel link. What is it? You have, for example, a company that has, let's say, 50 salespeople that are on the streets on a daily basis. And some of them might come in to work for a day or maybe two, and then they go back to their region to sell. They don't have necessarily a fixed desk for themselves. You don't want to have 40 places that are basically empty all the time. So what can you do? You can divide all those desks. In our case here, we have, for example, a table with 6 people. And when he comes in the morning and say, I'm staying here today, I would like to work today in a company for 8 to 5, is there a desk for me? And then he, on the front desk, can be told him, look, we have here 8 tables, each one for 6 people. Are you alone? Yes. Okay, so you can share your desk with someone else. Or he's coming with 6 people. He needs a whole desk. Where can he find one? Area 1, let's say, it could be the 2nd floor or 1st floor. There's one desk with 6 seats available for him. So you optimize your space very well with that. Another great example, meeting rooms. Let's assume the company has a meeting room that is designed for 12 people. With our system, you can count people during the meetings. So you can make some kind of an analysis and you say, okay, I want to know what's the average number of people on the meetings for the last 12 months. You will eventually realize that the average number of people in the meetings are 3 or 4. And the room is designed for 12. So that room is basically empty all the time. And the rent is being paid. So you could cut the room in 2, make 2 conference rooms. Or you could make 1 room and desks for offices for this area. So knowing how many people you have is very important. Another quick example, line, retails on a supermarket. In Germany, we have, let's say, 6 cashiers, and when one cashier is full, then someone is screaming, please open cashier number 3 because it's full here. Please open cashier number 3. And then someone comes running, opens cashier number 3, and then everyone from the line is running there. I think we all know this situation. With this, you don't need that. More than, let's say, more than 5 or 6 people, automatically cashier number 2 opens, green light, all the advertisement can be light up, and the office manager in the background knows on his screen, okay, now I have cashier number 1 and 2 open. So the opportunities are endless for that. As I mentioned, meeting room. You can separate, you can optimize the meeting rooms if you know how many people are there. Flexible desk sharing, more than necessary maybe. People are outside on the streets. You don't need for each of them one desk empty all the time. And retail systems. These are just a few examples. We have people calling from fitness studios where they want to count how many people they have in each course so that the trainer can be paid according to the amount of people. Endless possibilities. Quick to what's coming next. We call it true presence. This guy here doesn't count, but he knows by the movement of the breath. Why is this interesting? Because you can see if there are people in the room in any situation. It's a high frequency system. Very good for elderly cares, hospitals. It detects the breathing movement of the body. Thank you very much. I don't know how much time we have.
Yeah, we have some time left, so
Very
now
good.
there is time for your questions. You can ask Andre whatever you want. There is a technical support, as I understand.
Yes, please feel free. Any questions?
With today's technology, you mentioned that you've got a sensors which scans temperature for the room. Have you considered to have a CO2 scan as well in the room?
Well, not this version of the HPD2. It doesn't, but this one does. So we don't have it combined, counting and detecting CO2, two separate devices.
Okay, another question? Yeah.
How long did you develop the sensor? How long does it take?
Two?
How long does it take
To what?
to develop the whole sensor?
6 years. 5 to 6 years. Yeah, it was not simple at all. And that's why it's called actually HPD2. Because the HPD1 we actually didn't launch even. During the development phase, you'll learn by yourself and then you just upgrade yourself.
What interface do you plan for this to presence detector?
Interference? Interface. Yeah. Currently we have it for KNX and a normal relay output also, but we're studying new ones also. The intention is to make the sensor suitable for the building system. So if you have a particular integration that you see that it's relevant, please let's discuss it and we can eventually consider it. Sorry? Very good.
Okay, if there are no more questions,
Sure.
yeah, one more.
Thank you. Just what's the effectiveness of this? How big is the mistake of the counting of the people if it's in a huge area?
Thank you for this question. And for this, we have now Mr. Mertz.
The most difficult question is to me, okay. Should I answer in Czech or in English? It's
English.
okay. First of all, it's necessary to mention that the technology on which is the sensor is based, HPD2, is neural network, and this neural network is implemented inside the sensors, as Mr. Miloš mentioned, and the accuracy of the counting very much depends on the conditions around. Usually, if you as your eyes can see something and you are in doubt that this is a person, sensor usually has no mistake at all. In the situation, for example, in the bad light conditions, or if there are some artifacts on the scene which resemble somehow the persons, of course, that could be a mistake. But usually, you can avoid those false detection using settings, the zones, as we mentioned before. So if you are interested just in one part of the space or of the meeting room or something like that, it's very good practice just to set properly the detection area and say no other part of the scene is interesting for me, and set it like non-detection zone and so on. So the right question, right answer to this question really doesn't exist at all. But for a typical situation like meeting rooms, if you are interested, we can go to our booth and we can show you how it works in reality. Is one person for some time, not more. But you have to pay attention to the proper installation pretty much.
I think in the back was one more question.
One more question. Dotaz? Question?
The question is if it can count the difference between the standing and seating person. within the area I have, for example, 4 desks, and there are like 6 people. So
No.
no, only
It
number
detects
total.
number of total. It doesn't tell you these are 3 standing and here 2 sitting. It doesn't. Because the lower part is not important, just the upper part.
You can imagine the learning of the neural network. It's like learning your brain, because as Mr. Miloš mentioned, there is a number of something which is called positive examples. Those are really persons, and from all those 150,000 positive examples, we took just upper part of the body. This is because we need to calculate people sitting behind the desk. Yeah, that is the reason. It's absolutely no problem to train the same network, neural network, for standing persons. And if you have some such use case, it's no problem to train this neural network for that kind of objects.
Very quickly.
Yes, please.
Can the sensor work also for parking, like counting the parking places, or it's really like dedicated for counting people?
Thank you. That's a good question. The question was if the sensor could count something else than people. Theoretically, yes. It's all about this background here. You could have here horses or dogs or cars, whatever. We are now focusing on people. We're starting with this. Currently, no, it can't. But theoretically, it's possible, yes.
Okay, so I would finish it. Thank you for your participation. Enjoy the day and feel free to go to STEINEL booth. The question will be answered. Thank you.